Hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley, or should I say, good morning, because it's really 12:55 a.m. So this is actually the show for um, Tuesday night. Um, I know we're on Wednesday, but this is the Tuesday night show. I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's always a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you guys. Do check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. Whether you're with me at 12:55 a.m., 12:55 p.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m. Doesn't really matter. Thanks for being here. Our master topic for the week is Unlocking the Power of Your Surroundings, Series 3, Show 35. I think a lot of people don't realize how much our subconscious picks up from what's going on in our life. I think that is probably one of the biggest things that most people don't understand. And tonight's granular topic is Unclutter Your Life, how clearing space can clear your mind. Series 3, Show 35, episode, ladies and gentlemen, number 4. Wow, that's a mouthful, right? All right. So when we're talking about all different things that can actually affect you, and mostly things that your subconscious notices, but you're not aware of consciously, and you act different ways without yourself even knowing why you're doing that. So today we're going to talk about clutter and how that impacts us. So, according to Merriam-Webster, which I'm sure you guys know Merriam-Webster, we're going to look up what clutter is. Yes, clutter, 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 clutter. If I had to ask you right now, what the heck is clutter? Well, according to Merriam-Webster, clutter is a verb. And there's clutter, cluttering, clutters, right? So clutter itself is a noun. C-L-U-T-T-R is also a noun. A crowded or confused mass or collection. Things that clutter a place, interfering radar echoes caused by reflection from objects as on the ground other than the target. A little bit different than what we're talking about. We're talking about the clutter with people that just kind of pile things up and they don't know how or why things get a certain way, but they just know that they're there. And that's a big challenge for a lot of people because they don't know why something is a certain way. They just kind of, they appreciate it, but they really just don't know. They don't know why things are a certain way. All right. So let's dive in, ladies and gentlemen, because I got a lot to share with you tonight. I mean, a lot. So this is something that's going to wake you up. So one thing, ladies and gentlemen, is I want to tell you about something clutter does. So clutter increases our stress level. Why does clutter increase our stress level? That's a great question. It does that because it raises the cortisol in our brains. And I know a lot of people don't understand what that is or why that is, but cluttering does cause us to be more stressed. That's the truth. It causes a lot of other things too, but cluttering causes us to be stressed. We get very frustrated with what's going on because we feel like we're getting overwhelmed, right? Another thing about clutter is that clutter makes us feel guilty. Now, I know you might be saying, John, why does clutter make us feel guilty? Well, it's because we don't like the way a surrounding is or the way something is so messed up or jumbled. And it's like we didn't want it to get that way, but it did. And so now we feel guilty that it is this way. We don't know how to respond or what to do. I mean, I think that's really the challenge. But a lot of people, they get that guilt and they feel, well, there's not much I can do about it. So I guess I should just keep doing what I'm doing and eventually it'll go away. But I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, it will not go away. It will just get worse. So I'm here to talk to you tonight about this morning, why you need to declutter your life. That's something that I think is so remarkable. And when I say remarkable, I mean it has such a potential in life that you just would not believe how much potential it has. All right. So when we think about clutter, right? We think about the fact that it's making us guilty because like this got this way. And I'm like, well, I didn't want this way. And they're like, I shouldn't have done this. And I did. And it just got to compounded. And before you know it, you've like pack rat all these things, right? So clutter also causes a brain overload. Yeah. It's like your circuits get a little bit, let's say, really wrapped up. You're like, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to handle it. And so clutter discourages people. Okay. Whether it's clothes or books or, the fact that you have nowhere to sit. For some people, it might seem like a good thing, especially if your room is, where you work or go to school. But in the case for many young adults, it's not good. So creating a more inviting environment that others feel comfortable in will help you feel less isolated and challenged and stressed in order to have your own space and your own peace of mind, because it'll also affect your mental health. Yes, it'll affect your mental health. So why else is clutter bad? Clutter is bad because it has been shown through many, many studies that clutter leads to more snacking. A lot of research has shown this. It increases our likelihood of making poor food choices. Several studies with college students and participants in chaotic environments ate more cookies than those that were in relaxed environments and more, let's say, places where there was space and things weren't cluttered. So this is because people need to understand that significant amounts of sugar have a negative impact on our mental health. And disorganized workspaces tend to make us more vulnerable to other distraction tactics like watching TV, scrolling social media constantly, just shoving whatever we can find in a cabinet. And although you don't mean to do this, it just sort of happens. And so this is a big challenge. So I think we have to understand that we have to create a welcoming environment that has plenty of space. Okay. I think most people don't understand the fact that this space can dramatically impact positively or negatively how someone achieves the promises they set forth in their life, right? I think that's a really important thing. I think this will happen because a lot of people, they know people that are guilty of this, right? And when I say guilty, I mean the fact that they get into this state, but they don't know how or why they got into this state. So I think that's a really, really big problem. And I mean big because, unfortunately, people get lost in the situation. Let me say that again. People get lost in the situation. People get lost in the situation. And then it's like, oh, gee, like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I suddenly don't understand. So we can take this from a psychological perspective, that clutter is something that can happen, especially if you know somebody who's a pack rat and never want to throw things out. There's even been studies that have shown that people that actually have such an attachment to clutter in their life, it's like it has to be there or they can't like live. When you try to take the clutter away from these people, they actually suffer some very severe pains, and not just psychosomatic pains, but they really are in pain in their brain because they're hurting because they can't clutter things. I think that's like amazing. So we need to be diligent so that if something does, clutter up, we have to get organized. I don't say you have to have everything labeled and numbered, but you need to be able to maneuver. I know there's some times at home, like when I'll have mail or have things sitting around, I haven't gone through it a little while. I'll make some time on the weekend. I'll like go through it. I'll figure out what I don't need, shred it, and then toss the stuff. And so when I do that, it's like, even though there's a little area that I cleaned off, and there's plenty of other areas around, that fact that I made that physical and mental effort to clean up really makes me feel very, very good. And so a lot of people, when they think of clutter, they just think of it as something they got to clean up. And I can always do it later. And I don't have to do it now. Well, all right. If you could do it later, great. But why don't you do it now? Because if you don't do it now, then it's like, I don't know what you're going to do. Okay. So when we think about all this stuff that's going on, it makes people get very stressed. It makes people get very, 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 very stressed. Why? I think there's a big reason why people get very stressed. And I say that to you is something that a lot of people, they believe it's a certain way, but then for whatever reason, it's not. I think this happens because, again, people don't quite understand, and they get stuck. And I'll tell you the reason this happens. It happens because many people don't understand the impact of something like clutter. So we talked about one thing it can do is clutter increases our levels of cortisol in our brain. It makes us feel guilty because we look at this situation like, I don't want this, right? I don't want this. And you keep looking at it. And you keep looking at it. And instead of taking action to clean up, it's like you just keep complaining about it. So guess what? It just gets worse and worse and worse. And then it causes a brain overload. You're like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take this anymore. Right? And you just got to like stop everything. So I think this is very important to understand that, this whole week we're talking about this real important topic, which is unlocking the power of your surroundings. And we went through talking about sense the other day with what attracts a man, what attracts a woman, what do scents do for our body. And we did a whole show on that. So definitely check that out. But then there's the fact that a lot of people that collect things, when you try to get them to break away from it, people that are so attached to it, it's like they're in pain. And they're literally in pain in their brain because of this situation. So clutter also makes people eat more. I think the reason is that when people look at a situation and it's very cluttery, you feel, well, if the surrounding isn't kept well, why should I keep myself well? I mean, my surrounding's a mess, so I might as well be a mess too. Like, that's kind of what's going through your head subconsciously. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this tonight. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It has been an amazing privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this fantastic, evening throughout the morning here on Wednesday morning, but really this is Tuesday. I hope you'll like, love, and support the channel. Comment below, tag this with all your friends, colleagues, and associates, share it out. And do check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations, because I know you want to improve the quality of your life. And I look forward to helping you do that. Take care, everyone.